Purpose in the Youth podcast. Welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast.
Don't give up until you find your thing.
Don't be afraid that you don't know what you want to do yet, because I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. I still don't know what I want to do yet.
I'm still trying to figure that out. If you don't have it figured out early, don't think you're never going to find it.
You really make your own opportunity.
What do you genuinely enjoy?
Everything is strategic. I mean, nothing ends up how you want it to end up.
You go around once, there's no dress rehearsal.
But you have to understand yourself to know what your passions are, and then it just comes really easily.
Keep looking for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only, Bobbbaaaay. Today on the podcast, we got Davin Gentry, and make sure it's not David.
Correct.
Shout out to the people that have not called you the right name.
It's a lot. It's a lot that have called me. I mean, I've been called some pretty bad things. So even David is not the worst that I've been called, but
such a small detail that, as we were just talking about, you got to pay attention to those things when you're reaching out to people, trying to do business, trying to get things to happen. If you can't pronounce somebody or give somebody their actual name, there's going to be a big issue.
Exactly. I mean, that's the least. That's the least you could do is get somebody's name right. I mean, there's things that you can mess up, but a name is you got to get the name.
Come
right.
on, you mispronounce it. That's one thing.
That's
But
the first step.
if you can't even spell it out, that's a bigger issue.
Exactly.
Who is Davin today, and how young is he?
Davin is 33.
Larry Bird. Let's get it.
Yeah, Larry Bird year.
Let's go.
Oh yeah, you're Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, baby.
My best friend growing up, his favorite player was Larry Bird. But yeah, so Davin is 33 from Madisonville, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Super small town. About the one city that everybody knows is you'll pronounce it Louisville. It's
Louisville.
It's Louisville.
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 Yeah. Oh wow. So we definitely been mispronouncing.
Yeah, Louisville. I'm about 2 hours from there, so I'm a creator.
Yep.
Artist. I run a couple clothing lines.
Mm-hmm.
Diet Starts Monday, Premium Co. I'm just enjoying creating. That's my.
You've been doing it for quite some time now. This ain't your first rodeo with diet.
it's
There's
not.
been a lot of things leading up to this point.
Yeah, so even before Premium Co, I was creating. I was starting dating back to 04. So I was fresh out of high school. I started hand painting clothing.
Painting.
Yeah, kind of similar to Mesquite. I don't know if it's probably not in your. How old are you?
24.
24. Yeah, so you're probably too young for that. I mean, it's not like a throwback, but you would have been super young when that was out.
Yep.
But hand painting clothing, and more so taking custom orders. You would tell me hey, I want this on a shirt, and then I would design it up and then ship it to you or whatever.
Just like that.
And then that led into graphic design, and then that led into everything that I do now.
Wow. So it's just kind of been this slow building process to get you there.
Definitely.
Talk to me about what it's like to grow up in Kentucky. It's a different world.
It is, but it isn't. So a lot of people will think Kentucky horses, farms, Kentucky Derby.
I hate to say it, that's what I'm thinking.
I mean,
right?
that's what everybody I don't blame anybody for thinking that. Where I grew up it's super small. I mean, they say the population's around 20 something thousand maybe. And that could be a little off on that, but super small town, no resources, pretty poor in some spots, and then there's some spots that are nice. I grew up on the south side of Madisonville.
Okay.
I grew up in a trailer park. It was just me and my mom. I lived there till seventh, 8th grade. And then I moved into a duplex where we had 2 bedrooms. Then it was divided in the middle. And then the next section
it was one house, but it was
exactly.
2 in 1. Yeah.
But growing up, I mean, we didn't really think about those things growing up.
No, it's just what you know.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I got older, the trailer park thing was kind of embarrassing. That's we grow up in a town where it's there's nothing to do. So one thing that people do is just make fun of people or whatever. So nobody would really make fun of me, but because there was that kind of like atmosphere, it was always like a thing that I was like embarrassed of. Like if I had friends that wanted to pick me up, I might like try to like walk to my granny's house.
Have them drop you off at like at another spot.
But I mean, I got over that. I mean, it's Kentucky, so Kentucky will consider itself kind of the South, Midwest. There's a lot of racism. I remember racism as early as like 4th, 5th grade.
What were you seeing? What were you hearing?
Just kind of anything. Like it's one of those things where like kids will say anything that they hear. So just stuff like that, just negative like slurs and stuff like that. And then there's a lot of kind of like police harassment, not so much like beating or I have been beaten by the cops, but
you have been.
Yeah, but
how old were you?
I was 21.
Jeez.
First time getting arrested.
What was it for?
We were at a club actually in Indiana. Like, so where I'm at in Kentucky is the small southwestern like corner where it meets Indiana, and then Tennessee is right below us.
Okay.
And so Indiana, Evansville, that's like it's like 30 miles from us. So you would go there for like shopping, clubs, or whatever.
Yeah, that's where all the girls were at. So you were running through.
I think I only talked to like one girl from that area ever. I'm like, Madisonville had enough girls.
Just holding it down for the city.
Yeah, man, gotta hold it down. But so we went to the club. A fight. Some of the people that were with us got into a fight, and the fight led outside, and so the club owners like locked the doors and wouldn't let us out. But my friend was outside getting jumped, and so we went outside. They let us out. We went outside and did whatever that is, and then the cops came, and we were actually. At this time, nobody was fighting. Everybody was trying to leave, but our people were still locked inside.
Yeah, I got you.
So we were like 8 cars deep too. Long story short, the cops were like, "You guys have to leave right now, or we're gonna arrest you." And we're like, "Well, the person I rode with is locked in the club. We can't leave." And he's like, "Well, then you need to walk." And so I'm like, all right, so we actually just like start walking away, and then they grab one of us and start cuffing him. And then this like billy clubs came out, and they had, at the time, I didn't even know what it was. It looked like a rifle, but it shot out like pellet bags.
Like a Pelican gun or something?
Yeah, I mean, it just looked like, it shot out like just almost like bean bags, but like at like rifle force. Yeah. And so, I mean, they ended up arresting us, beating us up, pepper spraying us. And it's all coming back to me now that I'm thinking about it. But we actually got into the car. They pepper sprayed us, and we got into the car, and we're like waiting for the driver to like start the car so we can leave. But none of us can see because obviously you're pepper sprayed.
Eyes are burning.
It had rained. I remember taking rain off the top of the car and like trying to wipe my eyes out, but that doesn't help
nothing,
it.
Right?
Nope. And so, like I said, we're in the car. They ended up pulling us out of the car, putting us in the paddy wagon. Like, I mean, like saying stuff to you that like, I mean, you hear about now and you see it now. Like throwing us up against it. I remember being in the paddy wagon, them like slamming somebody up against it and like saying stuff like, "We're gonna treat you like the animals you are," and like it was wild.
I mean, we're starting to get to a point in the world where now everything is recorded, so I think a lot of that stuff is getting caught on camera and stuff. But you hear stories like this, and I can only imagine what it would have been like, or what this world was. Even you keep going farther back when this was a bigger issue that I don't even know how people were able to get through that.
I mean, it was tough. We went to court for 8 months.
Wow.
Got charged. I was 20, 21. Yeah. Got charged with like trespassing, resisting arrest. Had to go to court. The cops were testifying against us, saying that, literally saying I took my shirt off and tried to fight the cops. Wow. I mean,
It was just who everybody was gonna argue their point.
Yeah, exactly.
What he said.
The funny thing about it though is we actually thought that we were gonna be able to sue them, and like we actually believed it. So I had a couple friends that were arrested, the smart ones. They went ahead and pled guilty to a lesser charge and just like
got it out
the way. We didn't, because in order for you to sue, you had to be found not guilty in that charge. So we were like, well, we'll just fight it. We paid. I remember asking my mom, like, can you pay X amount of money to for this lawyer? And she did it, and nope,
Just didn't
lost
work.
it. Yeah, lost it. Got found guilty. I mean, it wasn't a felony, but like I'm 21, so like that's a super young age to even. I mean, I know people that have gone through way worse at earlier ages, but that was like my first encounter with like anything like that.
Yeah. Probably changes the way you think, the
way
decisions
trust.
you make in public, right?
I mean,
knowing that it could get to that level again of where you're gonna have to deal with court and you're gonna have to deal with lawyers and
I don't really like to go out, and a lot of my friends, they don't understand that. And
just like being a homebody, just keeping it cool.
Like, it doesn't even have to be at home. I just don't really like putting myself in positions where, like, because I wasn't fighting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I didn't start the fight, but obviously, if your friends are getting jumped,
Yeah,
you're gonna
hop
help.
in. Yeah.
But I just don't like being put in positions where you're around drunk people. Anything like the temperature, it could be too hot in there, and like
just
somebody bumps into you, and then it's just like, I just rather like we could go to like a restaurant or Top
you're
Golf.
in a much more
I'm
controlled
big on Top
environment.
Golf. Yeah, I just like, I mean, and we go to the club. Like, we just had our 1 year anniversary at a club in DC last week. I'll go, but it's like a big thing to my friends if I go out. Like, oh, we got Davin out. Like,
he's coming with us.
Yeah.
He's coming.
But I just like had too many issues. Like I don't know. Kentucky's a place where like it's off the radar, but like bad stuff
There's
happens.
a lot of stuff that actually happens.
Like,
So from the outside looking in, we don't realize what is actually happening.
I mean, it's just like anywhere. Like, people see like gang. Like, I mean, I don't know what it's like now, but gang culture in LA, like in the 90s, was probably super crazy in LA. Well, it was super crazy in LA, but you only hear about that in LA. But I'm sure that was outside of LA in these smaller cities too. And that's kind of what it is with Madisonville. Is like, we have people that come from Chicago. We have people that come up from Florida to like Tennessee, like all of these like metropolitan areas. And so that same type
You're getting a mix of all different types of people.
That same type of like, I mean, atmosphere comes to Madisonville. So I mean, it's one of those, like, I don't think I even answered the question. It's Madisonville's like, I wouldn't change like where I grew up for anything. Like that's my home. I actually just got it tattooed on me like 2 weeks ago.
That's
but,
dope.
When you grow up and you see, kind of like how Meek Mill explains like two worlds. You see like this world, like some people see this world and some people see this one. Like some of my friends that I grew up with, they may have never seen anything like this, but I had like a girl that I really liked in like freshman year whose parents wouldn't let us talk just because. So
Because she knew where you were from or like what your background was.
not even that. Her dad just didn't want her dating somebody black. So that was just as simple as that.
Sheesh.
But I mean, it makes you like what you are.
Yeah.
So
You can't sit there and be like, oh, I wish I had grown up somewhere else.
yeah.
It's not going to change anything.
no, I mean, I love Madisonville to death. Like as soon as I can, like I'll implement things to like to help it out however I can. But
Yeah. You said your mother and you grew up in the trailer park. Was your father at all part of your life?
I mean, I never like, he was around like occasionally. So like he lived in Indiana for some time, and then he moved to Hawaii.
Wow.
He was in Hawaii for like a few years, and then he came back, and it was always like a weird, it still is kind of like a weird thing. We have like a pretty like, I don't know, not a healthy relationship, but I wish that we did. it's just it's weird for me. I haven't really gotten to that comfort level yet. And I actually at one point I had kind of gotten pushed out of my house with my mom. She had married a new guy. Well, married a guy. She hasn't been married that many times. But
She's moving along.
yeah, she was married. And me and my brother, Braden, who's his name's there.
Hey.
Me and Braden's dad never really like got along because my mom's white, and so the guy that she married was white. And not to say that all white people or anything, but he kind of came from that era that it was like sometime you felt like he didn't really rock with me like that. And it just kind of got to a point where we would argue and stuff, and I was just like, yo, I'm not
doing this.
I'm not feeling this. So my dad actually was back in Madisonville. I moved in with him. This was right before I left Kentucky, really. So this was like, this was probably like 05, 06.
So this is after you graduated high school? You said you graduated 04, right?
03.
03, okay.
Yeah, I graduated 03. I lived with him briefly, and we kind of like gained some type of like fatherly son relationship, but it's just
I
kind
feel like
of,
it's got to be tough because you go all those years.
and
right?
that was my main thing. It's like he would leave, and then he would come back, and he would like try to discipline me and stuff, and I'm like, the same thing you see on like movies, and like somebody goes away to jail. I mean, he didn't go to jail, but somebody goes away and comes back, and it's like the kid is grown. It's like you can't tell him like to do anything because you weren't around. So, but yeah, I mean that's kind of like the childhood, like growing up. I played basketball. Basketball is really like what got me, I won't say out of Madisonville, but that's kind of what kept me like safe in Madisonville.
Right? It gave you something a passion to work towards.
Because
did you play in high school?
Yeah, so basketball, you would either like if you either played ball or you were in the streets, and so luckily I stuck with ball, and I was really good. I could have went to college to play. Like looking back, I probably should have, only because now I have student loans that I have to pay off. I wish I had just taken the scholarship.
Oh, so you still went to school, but you just didn't.
Yeah, so I know we're jumping around, but just to paraphrase, I grew up in Madisonville, graduated 03. I went to community college for like a year and a half maybe, and then I decided to go off to Western Kentucky. I don't know if you know Courtney Lee, who plays for the Knicks, I believe now.
Okay.
So Courtney Lee, me and Courtney went to Western Kentucky together. So I was at WKU from like what year was that? I want to say I went in 04, like spring semester of 04. And I went for business management at first, and then I switched to advertising. And that's kind of what.
It's funny how you're taking business from not knowing where you're going to go into, but
yeah, like had I known, I probably should have just like stuck with the business. But I switched to advertising. I wanted to switch to art, and my advisor was like, if you switch to art, you're not going to make any money. She's like, you're good at graphic design. Why don't you come to like my department, take like advertising, graphic design, marketing classes. And she was like, and she's really successful. So
you're going to listen to her, right? If she's.
Yeah. So, I mean, even looking back, like she's one of the like 3 teachers, advisors that like really had an impact on me. Yeah. Miss Coppinger. So
shout out to Miss Coppinger.
Yeah, shout out to her. But she convinced me to go into advertising. I kind of sharpened my skills in graphic design because I was already doing it, just kind of like messing around with it. But
well, like what was the inspiration in the beginning to even just try it?
I mean, the real inspiration was back to like hand painting shirts. You could only hand paint so many shirts a day, and that's putting all of the work on you. But if you design something in Photoshop, Illustrator, send it to a printer, then at that point the work is off of you.
Yeah.
So it was a way for me to kind of extend my reach. But even at that time, like people wanted the hand painted stuff because it was unique.
One of a kind.
Yeah. And that was something that I would write on there, like one of a kind, one of one, whatever. And I actually did that. I hand painted shirts from 2004 until probably like 2010.
Oh, so you stayed busy with it.
And that was like my full-time job.
Really?
Yeah.
Just working for yourself.
Working for myself.
Wow, that's impressive. So after you graduated school, you were already good to go. You had a way to make money.
Yeah, I mean, which luckily then, like college rent, like at our apartment, you would pay like $270 a month,
Oh my God.
which each person would pay $270.
Yeah.
So that's a little over $1,000 or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, so like fresh out of high school, I was painting shirts. A guy that I knew was painting shoes before I was painting shirts. He was painting shoes, and he would do your shoes, like he would paint Air Force Ones like the Dipset colors, like that style. And then he might do like a shirt to go with it, but the shirts were like, they would match the shoes, but they weren't that tight. And I'm like, I think I could do better at that part. I couldn't do the shoes, but I could do the shirt. And so originally it started with me like saying like, hey, why don't you do the shoes? I'll do the shirt, and we'll just be like this dynamic duo. But he kind of like went crazy. He went crazy, like literally, like he got put in a home.
Oh man.
But yeah, so that him kind of like saying he actually shot me down. He's like, no, I
didn't want to do it. He wanted to keep his own thing.
And so that's like the fuel to get you in motion. So started doing my own thing, and like the shirts at first were terrible. Like I get those like notifications on Facebook, like you posted this 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like the worst.
And you laugh at it. But at the time, you probably thought this was the best thing ever, right?
I mean, every time I did a new shirt, I'm like, God, this is amazing.
I'm the best in the biz.
Yeah, I'm the best. And then looking back, I'm like, is this what I was putting out? But I mean,
it was a starting point, right?
And it paid the bills, and it also like taught me a sense of like entrepreneurship, how to like manage customers, how to like speak to customers. Because my turnaround time was lengthy. Like I'm painting like 10s, 20s, 30s shirts a week, and they take hours to do. And on top of that, I'm still in school, so there would be times where like I would get weighed down, and it would mess with me. At some point, you get so overwhelmed that you just like shut down.
Yeah, because it's all on you too.
Exactly.
There's no other. You can't really just pick up somebody and hire them to do the work because this is your product.
And especially not with like, not with like painting. And especially when I have like a specific style. But, so I mean, I did that, and that actually like it led to a couple like really good opportunities. I got a job at a community center at college, where there's like a community center in the projects, and like a teen outreach type thing. And so I would teach. They brought me in to teach kids how to paint shirts, which was like the best job for me.
Yeah.
And
it's probably a little bit more easier on your mind too. Now that you're not dealing with customers all the time.
Which I still did.
Yeah.
It just offset some of that like pressure. Like now I'm getting one check. I mean, when I look back, it wasn't that great. It was like one check for, I think you did it for a handful of months, and you would get like $1,500, but you would get that at the end. I didn't even think about it. I'm like, oh, $1,500, bet.
I'll do it. Sign me up. Except I got to do this for the next 8 weeks.
I did that, and I mean, I loved it. And then I actually got fired. Like
for bad reasons, or
not bad on my behalf.
Okay.
Funny. I mean, it's kind of funny now. At the time, it wasn't. But so technically, she said that I got fired because I hung around drug dealers.
I mean, that's a hell of a way to fire somebody if they're not doing anything.
But so the thing was, I had a car on rims. I made shirts for like all of these people that did everything, music, basketball. That's how me and Courtney met. I did shirts for him and the team. It's like all of these people. And so I would pull up at the community center in the projects, and like all of the street guys would like come up to me like, yo, I need some more shirts, and blah, 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 blah. And so that's the reason that she fired me.
Nah, that's not right.
But that's not the reason that she fired me. So end of the story is I was dating this girl at the time, and she was brought in to teach a dance class. And she was bisexual, and so the person who ran this whole thing and her had been talking. So it was really a kind of like a plot to like get me out of there.
And hook her up.
And they did. They hooked up. Yeah, so I mean I did that for a while, and people still hit me up like all the time. Like it's a guy that I did shirts for, he just got out of prison. I feel bad because I feel like I'm like talking about all the street stuff, but he just got out of prison like not too long ago, and he hit me. He doesn't have a clue like what's going on.
Yeah, he doesn't know what you've been up to for the last.
He's like,
10
man,
years.
I need some more shirts, man. I'm like, dog, I haven't done that in like 9 years.
Oh man, that's all he was worried about. He's like, I gotta get some fresh fit. I'm gonna hit him up, see what I can pull.
Shout out Kilo Escobar.
So in 2011, that's when you and Tyler Hunley you came together. You started Premium Co. You guys started off with necklaces, bracelets with these like gemstones and precious metals.
Right.
What was it about your guys' stuff that was setting you apart from the competition, do you think, when you guys were starting off?
I honestly don't know, because there were so many people at that time that were doing it well. But I do think that, and this, like Tyler and I he didn't always trust my design sense. At first, like we made like just some random bracelets, and they would just be okay. But then one day I made this one that I just knew was like the one.
The one.
And he was like, man, I don't know. Like that looks hideous to me. I'm like, just trust me. I'm like, let's just see. Cause at that time, all you had to do was you go buy beads from Michael's and make a bracelet, put it up online. And if it sold, you just
go mass produce it.
Yeah. Well, you didn't have to, you could just make them as they came in.
That's amazing.
So we did that, and we called it Abe because it was all black everything. This was like, I don't even remember what year this was, but this was probably like our third or fourth bracelet. And it had all of these various like black stones, like lava and onyx and like all of these but like really unique ones too. And it was a hit. Like it literally, I mean, me and him were paying our bills off of just making bracelets.
Yo, that's crazy. So you guys were you guys actually the ones making the bracelets doing that? So wow, still hands-on completely.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we had at one point where we kind of like had like my girlfriend making bracelets or her sister making bracelets.
You were bringing everybody over for a family party. Let's start making the bead bracelets. And
we did that for a while. It would get to the point where like your hands would hurt.
Oh man.
Especially when we got into like Shambhala bracelets with like, it's like a special way that you not string around beads. It's almost kind of like almost like braiding, but with 2 cords instead of, I think braiding might be 3 maybe, but this is 2. And so it's this real like unique way that you not string around beads. And then the clasp is adjustable, so you can loosen it up and really make like a one-size-fits-all bracelet. Once we figured out how to do that, it really like we could up the price, but the time that it took to make one of those was like significant. And then it's just us, and you're like, after a while, like making like hundreds of bracelets a week, your hands are dying. But that's really not the reason we got out of it. We really just started to evolve
as a brand.
Yeah, as a brand, and really just as like a designer in general. I wanted to do more. I'm really quick to kind of like skirt on to the next thing.
You do it for a little bit of time, it's like, all right, I'm ready for the next thing.
When it starts to get to where the market's too saturated, then that's when I'm like, okay, I want to do the next thing. So we started doing the Jesus pieces. These are pieces that required, actually I had some in the room, I should have brought them, but these are pieces that require a lot of work. You make, like I would sketch it up, like me and whoever would sketch it. then you have to do like might have to do some type of rendering, like a 3D rendering or whatever, to show all sides. And then we would send that to, we actually had a official jeweler that was making them, instead of like a place overseas that was what we should have probably done, is just sent the mold overseas, made 1,000 of them
For
and
nothing,
then,
for a quarter a piece.
Well, we were really like, we didn't know what we were doing. And jewelry's like one of those things you really can't half step on quality.
Yeah.
And we found that out the hard way a few times. That you do, the gold will fall off or like tarnish, or people's necks will break out, all different types of things. So we went to an actual jeweler who we worked with for a few years. He did all of our he did all of our molds, and we did everything from Jesus pieces to rings, an angel piece. It was really just all unique stuff. But
yeah.
I think that the thing that made us different was just the fact of how we always presented it. Like everybody knew that it was, well, everybody around us knew it was only two of us, but to the outside world, it would look like we were this huge
full
company.
operation.
Yeah, because I would shoot it. I knew graphic design, so I could doctor the image to make it look pristine. And we were showing the stuff in a way that really, I mean, I don't really know. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that was doing it like us.
I feel like that's half the battle sometimes. I don't want to say fake it till you make it, but you need to almost present yourself very professionally so that when people come across these bracelets, these necklaces, they're like, these guys are the real deal. They're taking this very seriously. And that's how you get people to give you the money, right? When they're thinking about...
You definitely have to look the part first.
Yeah.
Like, that's the biggest thing, is looking the part. But then we looked the part and we backed it up with like the type
actual
of work.
product.
Right. So that led into just a whole different arrangement of jewelry. And we still like talk. I was just on the phone with Tyler before I came, and we're like, man, we got to try to do this type of piece or this type of necklace, but it really just stems from like what we feel is missing, not only in the market, but like in our like closet, like our jewelry box or whatever. We continually want to create, and jewelry's just something that just stuck with me that I never got over. Like I was never like, I'm done with jewelry forever. Like I just always just wanted to fall back to jewelry.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those accessories too that people can always rock too. So it's like you can wear it every day. You can wear it.
It's timeless.
Yes, it's timeless.
And that's kind of where we're at now with it, is when we were doing it, it had kind of like, it went from like super big pieces to small pieces, small necklaces. And then it kind of, people, I don't even know if people really stopped wearing it as much, but it definitely became less popular, I think. Like this is when like Ben Baller was like blowing up off of like, I mean, in 424 was doing a ton of jewelry, and everybody, Stamped was doing jewelry, everybody was. And then it just kind of fizzled out. And we luckily at that time, that's when clothing was like starting to pick up for us.
Yeah. Is that when you guys kind of made the pivot into like the basics?
Yeah. So at first it started with like not so basic.
Okay.
It was kind of like right at the end of the sublimated t-shirt wave. So this was right around when En Noir came out, and they were doing the sublimated t-shirts, and those were really big. And this was the biggest turning point for us. Was I mocked up a t-shirt. We called it the Perseus tee.
Okay.
And it was an image of Perseus beheading Medusa.
Yeah.
And this was when Versace, I'm 99% sure, like Versace, like the Migos song was out, and Versace had made like a huge comeback in fashion, and Versace was just everywhere. And so we were kind of over like seeing Versace everywhere. So, you know, the Versace logo is Medusa. So we were like, let's do kind of like this play like anti, not so much anti Versace, but just anti like Medusa. Just like you guys have overdone it with the Medusa.
Yeah.
So we did that. Well, I mocked it up and I put it on I put it on Instagram, and it went
Crazy.
crazy.
People went nuts over it, huh?
Yeah, instantly. Like I remember like at this time we didn't really have like a ton of followers. We probably had like 10K or something. And getting like a lot of likes was I mean, it's still a big deal.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
I remember like refreshing and it was already like hundreds of likes. And I'm like yo,
Uh-oh.
we got to make this.
Yep.
We made the shirts in New York, and they cost us a ton to make. We sold them at like $100.
Wow.
We sold out of them. We didn't sell out instantly though. It's like we probably sold like 30% instantly, and then the rest gradually like sold over the course of like sales and stuff like that. But so it wasn't necessarily like a hit out the park instantly, but it definitely showed us that there was a market for clothing for us. Like for our audience, they liked what we were thinking. And so we did the Medusa or the Perseus stuff, and then that led into doing the next piece was still in New York. It was a neoprene hoodie and sweatpant. And neoprene at the time wasn't really used at all. I honestly don't even remember why we decided to use neoprene. I knew that I liked the fabric and the look of it. I think maybe it was like the matte look and like the fluffiness of it. This was 2014, I think. So this is 4 years ago. So there's like tons of products that are like closer to my memory than that is. But that was like a piece that also really kind of like separated us from a lot of people. Nobody was using that at the time.
Yeah.
And then that's really what premium became known for, was kind of iconic silhouettes, but with unique, like super crazy fabrics. That's where like the basics came in. The Terry tee was our biggest product to date. We've sold thousands and thousands of those. I remember one day, the best day we had, we sold over 800 of those in one day. And these are $62 t-shirts. And it's just me and Tyler. And at that time we brought Scooty in. But the reason why I feel like that was such a big deal was, for one, there was nothing like it on the market at the time. Quickly after
Everybody
that,
started jumping on that wave.
very quickly after.
Yeah.
You would see it in like Urban Outfitters everywhere.
They jump quick.
ASAP. And but the reason why we even chose that fabric was just the look. We didn't even know anything about French terry or anything. It was just the speckled fabric, and nobody was using that. But then it was also, we were in the perfect like pocket between like streetwear and like high end fashion. So you had like, I don't even know, like Stamped and all of those brands, and then you had like Fear of God, and John Elliott's more closer to us than Fear of God was. But you had this big range of like price points, and premium landed like right in the middle. And so it's like we weren't streetwear, but we weren't high end.
You're right in the middle for people.
But you could still achieve that look. And now that's kind of a lot of people's business models. Like the high end look, low price point, high quantity. A lot of people
they're going crazy for that
filthy
stuff.
rich off that. But I mean, a lot of people can't afford a $1,200 pair of jeans or a $900 pair of track pants or whatever.
That's crazy.
So, or even if they can afford it, they may be smart enough to
say, we don't need this. Yeah, because then in 8 months it's going to be out of style, and you're going to be why are you
not
wearing
even 8
these?
months now. Fashion's so fast that you may buy something this week and you'll be over it in 2 weeks or a month. But it's just fashion. I mean,
it's a fast moving market.
Yeah, it's very fast. And it's hard to keep up if you want to keep up with it. But if you're not worried about keeping up with it, it's it doesn't matter how fast everybody else moves, because with both brands, we make what we want to make.
Yeah.
And we feel that we're at the point now to where we kind of control like what we feel like is cool. Like if we feel like it's cool, then we think it's
You're
cool.
gonna do
So
it.
we trust that our audience
Is gonna vibe with it, or
yeah. And
is
I mean,
gonna buy
if they
into
don't, that they don't. But it's really rare like that if we put something out that they don't vibe with.
Yeah.
Like we just have a really good understanding, because I think too, we're not, between all of us, me, John, Scooty, Tyler, everybody, all of us are really simple people when it comes to dressing. Like I have on a sweatshirt, shorts, a t-shirt. If I didn't have this on, I'd probably have on like a denim jacket or camo pants, something like that. But the stuff that we make is, it doesn't matter what's in style in H&M or Zara. That it's what we're making is stuff that's gonna be in style like forever.
yeah.
Denim jackets, pants, camo pants, those never go out of style. And then we also do pieces that are kind of like
A special piece that's not necessarily
out
gonna
of the
be.
out of stuff that's out of the box. Like it might be something that, like, I'm feeling super creative that day, and I just want to
Spaz
Yeah, I
out.
want to go crazy on something. But yeah, we try to just create just solely for us.
Yeah. That's the whole point, right?
If
If you're creating for anybody else, is it actually for you? You know what I mean?
No, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, that you have to find that balance, because it is a business that has to be ran,
Yeah.
and you have to make what other people want to
Yeah,
buy.
I got you.
But we feel like what we want to make is what people want to buy.
Yeah.
Luckily,
Understanding what the market is looking for, but understanding what you, as a creator of fashion,
Right.
what you want to add to the
and
to
then
the world.
and then also that there's certain silhouettes that everybody, if they don't want, they should probably have in their closet. And so we kind of know, like, okay, we can do this type of jacket, we can do this type of jacket. There's pieces that we can do that we can just kind of take to the next level without like reaching too far.
Yeah.
Stuff that we still know, like, a person who may not be comfortable wearing this crazy loud one would wear this one, but we will do it where it's like it's still basic, but it's done very nicely, and it's still like super unique. Like even we did a denim jacket that we released last week that it's just a
Was
gray.
that the gray one? Yeah,
It's
the
the
gray.
gray one.
Yeah, you did 20 pieces or something like that.
Yeah, we did 20 pieces that we sold in store, and that's a trucker jacket. That's an iconic jacket.
It's just money. That
It's,
thing looks
it's
fucking flames.
it's super fire. But then the wash on it is what like makes it unique. So we'll take those iconic pieces, even bomber jackets, whatever, even down to like fleece sweatpants. Like those, nothing's new about fleece sweatpants. But we're doing them in a way that is, it's not that common, but it's our twist on it. So it's all about balance, finding what we want to make, what the customers want, how to give our spin to it, to where we still feel like, okay, this says diet, or this says premium.
Yep.
And then putting it out in a way that's as different from what everybody else is doing. That's the hardest part, is so many brands, so many people are inspired by the same things, that I'm working on stuff at the factory right now that John Elliott could be working at his factory, which has happened. And it's really all about, it's either you try to beat them to market, or you don't worry about it and you just try to like either market yours in a different way, or you add something to just differentiate it that little bit.
Yeah.
It's like I said,
There's months that goes into months to plan to get these product samples and then to finally roll it out. And if somebody beats you by a month, now you're rolling out into the market, they're like, well, they're just knocking off this brand.
And that's the bad thing about it, is you almost have to show what you're working on exactly when you're working on it, to have a time stamp, so that when say us and John Elliott do put out the same product, when it's more so just like a pride thing, because people come at you and they're like tagging people, like they're tagging other brands in your posts, like, oh, you copied this and that, and then we're like, well, actually, it happened with Nicky Diamonds. Random enough, that's like two opposite ends of the spectrum, but he put out a product and we were putting out a product at the same time, and it used imagery, like the same piece of this same image that we kind of like both saw and took inspiration from it.
Wow.
Well, we did it in different ways, but the customer saw it and they're like,
gonna call it out on it.
Oh, Nicky's copying Diet, or Diet's copying Diamond, so on and so on. And so at first we were like having to like go back and show people like, look, we designed this like a year and a half ago. And it's the same with them. Like they make stuff overseas. They have to put that into production like almost a year in advance sometimes. So, but that's the side that people don't really, most of the consumers they don't know that side. They don't know that there was 8 months leading up to it that nobody saw anything. And it's happened to us to where sometimes we didn't even release a product because somebody beat us to market so far in advance that by the time we would put it out, it's like,
too late.
It's too late.
Well,
so if you can catch it to where it's like you can change something enough. But
you said something about the, you want to timestamp it. I know you're a Gary Vee fan, so as he would say, document like the journey of you getting from the product, from the sketching all the way up into finally rolling out. And then it's like, we've been showing you guys this for months, but then I understand too from the other side, it's like, we want to keep this in-house because these are our ideas. And then we want it to, when it finally hits, now it's available. So it's not you like thinking about it. Yeah. Talk to me about, I had listened to Drama's podcast with John, and there was this like text convo between you guys. And it was about only working out to fit into designer clothes. Right. That led you guys into Diet Starts Monday. What was the true vision when you guys were finally putting this together? Like, what did you guys want Diet Starts Monday to represent?
I mean, well, John and I had wanted to do a brand together since, shortly after meeting John, really. I met him in like 2000, I don't even know, 13. I think it was 2013. He was actually a fan of the jewelry, and we sent him
awesome.
We sent him some jewelry. This was early. I don't even think he had 5,000 followers yet.
So he was a hidden gem.
Yeah, this was like pre, I don't know if you saw like the picture of him like jumping in the pool with the Yeezys, the red Yeezys.
I don't know. I'd have to.
I'll send you a picture. There's a T-shirt that's made
of him jumping in with the red.
No, he's under the water in the pool with like the red. This was right. I don't even know if they had come out yet, and he like went viral off that, obviously. But this was pre-viral John.
That's genius.
But yeah, we kind of just we became cool. Like I would send him jewelry. We would just talk, and then we would be in the same cities and link up, and it just kind of led into like a genuine friendship. And as far as how we started, we were at Fashion Week. We were actually at Fashion Week together, and then he said that to me. Like I was like, I'm about to go to the gym, work out. He didn't have his stuff there, whatever. We didn't end up working out, but he said like, it's all good. I really only work out to fit designer clothes. And so like a couple weeks later, I texted him that, and he was like, man, we got to put this on a T-shirt one day. And this was, I think 2014 Fashion Week. And so fast forward like 3 years, he's doing like misplaced checks from 2015 till 2016, 17 or whatever. I'm doing premium, and it just never like, it just was, the timing was just always tough. Like it was just too hard at the time. And so finally we were like, all right, let's do, I think it was November of 2016. He was like, why don't you come down to Miami? I want to do this, whether we do this together
or I'm going to do it solo.
Which he was going to, either way, I was going to be a part of it. It was more so trying to figure out if I was going to be like a face of the brand as well, or if I was going to be behind the scenes. And then he really wanted me to, be a part like a facial part of the team as well, because for one, he's my best friend, but for two, he really wants me to get like the credit that he feels I deserve. And so with
That's
Premium,
a good friend right there.
no, I'm very good. With Premium, I never had a personal Instagram until like 2016, I think. I ran Premium as my personal page. So I would, like, if you scroll back, which now it's kind of cleaned up a little bit. If you scroll back, you'll see like pictures of me like doing whatever, or
rocking the gear, obviously, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that. But not even more so, like I would treat it just like my personal page. Like you would see pictures of my dog Louie. You would see pictures of like shoes that I would get, whatever. My girlfriend, and that was like I didn't really understand at the time, because that was a time where we were coming off of the wave where you didn't have to have a face of the brand. Like the brand was like, you could be mystique and mysterious and you didn't have to be all the way out there. And so I never felt the need to have a personal Instagram, and I ended up starting one later, but that was the main reason why, because I built Premium Instagram up to whatever amount of followers, but never had that for myself. So he was like, man, we need to like get you, we need to put you out there, so on and so on. And so the vision originally was, the plan was to be like not super high end, but high end, targeting Barney's, Patron of the New, all of these higher end stores, Essence, all of those. And so we designed a collection together, and I flew down to Miami like December or January of 2007. I think it was December of 2016. And we sat down and we mapped it out. And actually it was then, because it was for my birthday, which is December. And so we mapped it out.
What's the day on your birthday?
The 12th.
I'm the 11th. Let's get it.
December?
Let's get it.
Nice.
Let's get it.
And so we mapped it out. It was all high end. Like, I mean, we were shooting like $400, $500 hoodies, like $150, $180 t-shirts, like all Japanese cotton, really nice. Like, I mean, and not to take anything away, but the quality and the fabrics didn't change. We just decided to not go as high end of a price point.
Yeah.
So, but that was later. So we started, and that was the plan. We took it to Vegas.
Did that like private party or something?
Yeah,
like
we
that?
did a private party at the Cosmo.
That must have been a good time.
Yeah, the Cosmos, that's family.
Yeah.
Even with Premium, we would stay at the Cosmo like every trade show that, even before we were showing at trade shows, like me and Scooty, we would go, because at first, the first trade show me and Tyler went to, we had no clue like what we were doing. We went, and they were like, oh, you got to pay. This was Magic. This was before Agenda was even in Vegas. Went to Magic, and they were like, yeah, it's $250 for a brand to like walk the floor. And so we paid it, and we got in. Went to that one, just kind of like, we thought that's what you had to do, which at the time you kind of did. And then we brought, because I know we skipped the Premium part of the story, but we brought Scooty into Premium 2013, and that, me and him just sat down as like thinking we'll just be homies. And I'm like, we hit it off. I'm like, man, you know everybody. Maybe you should like handle sales for us, because he's like the mouthpiece. If he doesn't, I'm like the anti like conversation. Which is funny that I'm the one doing the podcast, but I'm like the designer, the creator. Like I'll sit over here and like not talk, but he's the one that'll like go up to you and be
wants to be the one talking,
I'm
having the
Scooty,
conversation.
Like, blah, 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 blah. And so me and him hit the ground, and we were like hitting all these trade shows, but we would stay at the Cosmo. That's where I was getting at that. We stayed there probably 40, 50 times.
You guys were on like a first name basis with these people.
Yeah, I mean, a few of them we are still. Shout out Jeremiah. But yeah, so we did the private thing at the Cosmo for Diet, and that was like the invite only thing. We spoke about exhibiting, because Premium exhibited that show. We were exhibiting at Liberty,
So you were exhibiting for Premium and you were
And
there on
doing-
Diet.
yeah.
Man, my man was hustling.
Yeah, so
Hustling.
I was producing a collection for Premium and a collection for Diet and showing them at the same time. So I would be down at the trade show for like a meeting, and then I would run. This was at first it was the production, like outside of the production side, like the clothing, but the Cosmo thing was at night. So luckily I could show in the daytime at Premium, and then we ran over to the Cosmo, set everything up, and we had it sponsored. We had free champagne, and we were like, we had like Magnum bottles of champagne. So we went crazy, and we had like a really good response because, for one, those years that me and Scooty and Tyler were hitting the trade shows, we were just laying groundwork. It was either for Premium or for Diet. Either way, we were laying the groundwork, like meeting people, and then you kind of like build this thing where you see people every show, and it's just kind of like, oh, what's up? But then whenever you finally exhibit all of those people, you see again, and you're like, man, come over to my booth and check out what we put together. And so we had this crazy catalog of friends and associates and all of that. So the Cosmo was like a huge success. We were getting orders from all the boutiques that we wanted that were at that show. Some of them don't even attend that show, but we knew
You had the right people. You had the right connections.
But we also did it because that's, aside from Fashion Week, that's like the one, well, it's 2 shows a year, but that's the one time where you can like get a lot of people from one industry in the same space. So we knew we had to take advantage of that. So we did it. We got all kind of orders. And then we were at dinner in Vegas, and Scooty was like, hey, I got this. Because at the time, it was just John and I. John and I started it. And then Scooty was like, I have this space in DC that wants me to activate it. What do you guys think about doing a pop-up there and launching the brand? And so we had spoken about doing a pop-up for Diet, kind of similar idea to what Diet, the retail space, is now, which was do a pop-up. We have some friends that have an ice cream store in New York. Mikey's Likes It. And so we were going to like collaborate with them for this pop-up to where we would do like a custom bowl of ice cream, but it would be like 2,000 calories, just like super over the top, way anti-diet. And so Scooty had that idea kind of in the back of his head. So he was like, what do you guys think about doing this and like using that idea in the space? And we were like, I'm with it. And so Scooty was like, I can get XYZ to help out with build out and stuff like that. And so that opening the space kind of changed I won't say the plan for the brand, but it kind of changed the route that we were going.
Changes the experience, I feel like, too.
I mean, it definitely changes the experience, but we also we had no restaurant experience, and we were opening a full like restaurant and bar.
Yeah.
So it kind of like, we understood, I mean, we're not naive to know that a lot of the customers that are going to walk in they're just like on foot. They're walk-in customers, and they may have no clue about me, John, Scooty, Diet, anything. And so for them to see $180 t-shirts,
they're like, what is this?
There's no way that we would have like, it just didn't make sense for the experience, really. Like we want people to come in, see the merchandise, and like want to buy it. And so we kind of like rebranded quickly, and this is before we had even like launched the product.
That's unbelievable.
And so we had, before even launching the product, we had a collab contract signed with 5-4. We had a retail restaurant and bar, like all of this stuff before. We just talks of a shoe before we had even like launched.
Because you guys had so much relationships and experience built up to this. It wasn't like two new guys just starting in the industry. You guys, this was like a long time coming almost.
Exactly. And then everybody knew that John and I were friends. So it was kind of like long time coming. Like finally, like we're excited to see what you guys are going to put together, because they knew me from Premium and the clothing that we made / make, and they know John for like his crazy like at that time it was just customs. He was developing his shoe, but this was before it had launched. So everybody was like really excited to see what we were putting together. So we had all of these like deals on the table before even launching, and then we, like I said, we rebranded to just make it a better experience.
Yeah.
And we've been open 1 year, like as of last week we've been open, and it was only supposed to be, like I said, it was a 3-month pop-up. So we were opening in May 1st, and we were closing the end of July.
This is a good time to do a pop-up, I feel like.
Yeah, summertime, especially DC.
Late spring, early summer. Yeah, DC gets hot down there, right? It gets hot down there. I love how you guys had it was come for clothes, stay for the food.
Yeah, that was Scooty.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's his tag. Yeah, I mean, DC is one of those cities too where it's like, that's prime. For one, it's prime location. Yeah. Where we're at, 14th and U, but that's also prime like weather, period, like, because people hibernate in the colder months. It's like, I mean, here it's kind of like a similar. I mean, obviously in the summer it's really hot, but aside from that, it's a pretty consistent like cool to warm weather all year round. But DC is like, I mean, it snows, like it's cold.
It's got everything.
Yeah,
it's got everything out there. So I drive Uber out here full time. That's how I pay the bills. And I think it was 2 months ago I was driving, and I came across, it was on Melrose and Fairfax. It was you and John
billboard
falling from the sky with, you got all this food, and it's about the collab with 5'4", which is now Menlo Club. Is that they're kind of transitioning?
So basically the brand is still 5'4", but Menlo Club is like the company that houses all of their brands. Okay. Because they have 5'4", they have Grand AC, which is the athletic apparel. They have Oshenta, which is the sunglass company. Yeah. And then they have some other companies that they're launching. So they basically wanted, instead of having 5 different sites, they wanted one site that housed everything.
Umbrellas, everything.
Right. So Menlo Club is the club, and that houses 5'4". So the collab is technically with 5'4", but was housed on Menlo Club.
So how does that benefit you guys? I would imagine it obviously benefits brand awareness. You guys are both cross-promoting each other's products, but how else does that benefit Diet Starts Monday?
I mean, aside from financially, the definitely cross-branding. Yeah. I mean, they have I think like 100,000 subscribers, like 100,000 plus subscribers, which this wasn't in the subscription. This was just on their platform. But this puts Diet Starts Monday in front of a lot of eyeballs. Obviously the billboard, which you saw on Melrose and Fairfax, that was key. That was obviously a lot of exposure.
It's got to be weird for you, the one that likes to just be the kind of the guy who keeps quiet, does his own thing.
I mean,
now you see your face on a billboard in LA. That's a big change.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind being seen. More so just like, I've always had trouble like going up to people and like, I mean, unless I'm like tipsy or drunk.
Yeah, that's everybody.
I'm a little more confident then, but I've just always had like I remember a story like flashing back to Agenda, a trade show. We were in New York, Scooty and I, and we were kind of like blacklisted from the show. They wouldn't let us in because earlier, there's so many stories about that, like trying to get in, like even before that. So I'll go to the first one. So the first one, Scooty and I went. This is the first trade show that I took him to, and we couldn't get in because like it was like really strict at the time. You had to you had to register as a buyer, you had to work for a store, or you had to be exhibiting as a brand. And we weren't exhibiting, we weren't buying for a store, and we didn't know anybody at Agenda, so we had no like resources.
No connect to get in.
And so, but we went, we flew to Vegas, got hotels and everything, and went because we knew like it's got to be a way we can get in.
You're gonna find a way.
And so, that show, I think a friend of ours put us. He has a store, so he put us on as buyers at his store. So we got passes. The next show, we came back like in August. That was February. We came back in August. And same thing, no passes, but we had registered under his brand before, so we're here from blah 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 store as buyers, and they were like, well, they had like us flagged. They were like, we have that you guys can't, like,
you're not allowed.
Yeah, like you finessed this last time, and
They
so
figured it out.
So we're like sitting outside the entrance to the show, and I don't remember how, but we were talking to Mega from Black Scale. I think my boy Mateo was like cool with Mega, but somehow we like start rapping with Mega, and he like takes his bands off and like gives us the 2 bands, and so we get in, and then we go to the New York show like a couple months later. Same thing, can't get in, and so I remember we were at a picnic table, which I'll sound super wild for saying this, but we're sitting at a picnic table like, man, like we came all the way to New York and we can't get in. This is terrible. And we had like like this is when Terry tees are like, I'm coming off of like selling 800 Terry tees and I can't get into a trade show. And so we're sitting there and I see Aaron, the owner of Agenda, and I tell Scooty, I'm like, there's the owner right there. And Scooty's like, go say something to him, see if he can get us in. I'm like, nah, you go say something. And it went back and forth a couple of times, but then Scooty ended up having the courage to like go up and say something to him. And I had like a couple connections at Agenda, but they weren't like good connections. But I knew of some people because we had been speaking about doing the show. And so Scooty's like, yeah, man, so-and-so told Davin that he had 2 passes for us, blah, 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 blah. And then Aaron's like, oh, for real? Because he's at the desk right now. Y'all can go up there. And we went up there. And luckily the dude knew me, like when I said it's Davin. And he was like, y'all need passes? And he gave us passes.
Oh,
but
he hooked it up.
Those first like, this was like 2 years of trade shows, which is 2 Vegas shows and 2 New York shows a year. So that's a lot of shows that we couldn't get into. And eventually, like when you start exhibiting, then it's like one badge to Liberty gets you in all of the shows. So we know once we start exhibiting, you no longer like have to worry about those little
hiccups of trying to get in.
But yeah, so we had to like fight to get into the shows at first, and then I remember even when we were ready to exhibit, because it's like $5,500 for a booth. And I remember like we filled out all the paperwork. They like, this is your booth number, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, who do I send the check to? No response for like a couple of days. And the deadline is coming up. So I hit the dude again. Excuse me. And then he's like, man, I hate to say this, but somebody in the office sold your booth to another.
Come on.
And so this is like, we're like prepping for a trade show. And I think Premium has a lot of like the stories that are like the I don't even know what the hardship and the triumph. Yeah. Diet's only been around for a year, so
you guys have just been kind of cakewalking right your way.
I mean, we'll have them though. Like, I mean, we've had our fair share of issues, but also the trade show scene's way different now.
Yeah. What do you think's been the biggest lesson you've learned from John? Because obviously you guys have a very passionate relationship. He's very passionate with what he does.
Right.
Obviously that goes together with you guys, but what's been the biggest lesson you've learned from him?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is, for one, John, he's a super complex person because he doesn't care what anybody thinks, but he cares what everybody thinks.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned, I mean, we've had some stuff with Diet to where we really all learned from it together, like some pretty like crazy stuff that happened to Diet when we first launched. But he was like, trust me, like it'll get better. And because it was like, I don't even want to go into detail about what happened because it's pretty bad, but
just things that made you question, is this the right thing what we're doing?
Things that like I couldn't even get out of bed. It was that bad. Like I was like, I mean, and
Sick to your stomach?
Yeah, not even like, just like I was just like, I thought that the world was over. But I think that the biggest thing that I've learned from him is more so to be confident in myself.
Yeah.
And because I mean, before he would say these things like, man, you need to be like the face of a brand, you need to put yourself out there and stuff like that. I was the one that was content, like not doing that, which I mean, not to say that you can't succeed doing that, but on a personal level, like say for instance, I never started my own personal Instagram. Yeah. And then I never met John, and then we never started Diet, and then say Premium went out of business. And so it's like, then what? Then you have to start all over from ground zero. Davin doesn't have an Instagram, which I mean, I could change the Premium page to my page, but
those are going to become almost like dead followers because they're expecting the close.
Right. Which I mean, I think that that's the biggest thing. Like,
just the awareness.
Trust yourself for one. Don't care what people think, but then care what people think. Yeah. I know that's kind of like
contradicting,
double-edged sword, but because you have to have that sense of not caring. Mm-hmm. Like I remember we'll do videos and stuff with 5'4", and they'll be like jump on this trampoline, or like jump up and punch the air, and like they're like, and if you watch, I don't know if you follow D Murphy.
I don't follow him, but I've seen some of his content.
So if you like, D's the ultimate.
He seems very high energy.
He's well, in those videos he definitely is. Like in like settings like this, he's normal, but he's like the perfect example of like not caring. Like he doesn't care if he looks funny. He's there to do a job, and the content that he creates from not caring is perfect. I don't have that ability to where I can like make a fool of myself and not like care.
Shit,
I'm really hard to get out of my shell like that. But
which isn't a bad thing. I think everybody has certain things about them. So if that's just who you are, I mean,
exactly,
it doesn't make you any worse or any better than anybody else.
Right. I mean, I think that's you just have to like. I think at some point you become, especially myself, I've had 14 years of creating product, and all of everything that I won't say everything I've created has been a hit, but every brand that I've had, whether it was my personal brand of painting shirts, graphic design, because that was like the transition after shirts was graphic design for a few years before we started Premium. And even when we started Premium, it was Premium and graphic design. And now it's everything. I'm kind of like just a pot of like all these different things that I do. But I'm just now really starting to become comfortable in like, not only like I've always been comfortable in the product that I create, but now I'm comfortable like embracing it like publicly and like letting you know like this is the best jacket that you're ever gonna get until I make another one, and then this one, that one's gonna be better. Yeah, exactly. Because everything always, I learn something new from every project that I can apply, and that's what's helped Diet. Like, if it wasn't for the hardships with Premium, Diet would be having those same issues, and we've had a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of hiccups, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What would you say is your definition of success?
I mean, I think that the best way is, which you'll know, the way that Gary Vee talks about how he has some friends who run $200 million companies and they're super stressed out. And then he has friends that make $50,000 a year and they're like having the times of their lives. I think the definition of success to me, like what would be my success, would be financially comfortable, like it doesn't even have to be financially comfortable for life, because I know that I'm always going to be able to create something that can generate income.
Yeah.
But I don't have to have a $250 million company.
Yeah.
I just want to be financially stable. I want to be able to create. I want to be, obviously you want the nice house, a decent car. I don't ask for much. But just being able to create and not having to worry about finances.
That's almost like a perfect world for for any creator.
And I think that a lot of people get it confused and think that like money is just going to make everything perfect, and it's not. I know people that have companies that make millions of dollars a year, and every day they feel like this is the thing that's like killing their company and they're going to lose it all tomorrow. I just want to feel comfortable for life. And as long as I'm able to create, like I said, I have no doubt that I'll create until I leave.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. We were talking in the car on the way here, and she was mentioning how she chose design, and as cliche as it is, I don't feel like I chose it. I'm not even gonna say that I was chosen.
Yeah.
But that's just who
You just follow the interest, right?
I just am. That's who I am. So ever since I was little, I've just even down to like, I mean, I can go back to like early days where like I just always used to love to draw, and anybody that came around, I would make them draw a hammer. I don't know why.
You wanted to compare, or be like, I can draw a better hammer? Why
I think
was the
so.
hammer?
I think but it was different hammers. It was like, I don't even remember what they're called now. It was like a ballpoint, something
Different.
There was different types of hammers, but I was like, I think my great grandfather, he had like this garage with like all his tools. And since my mom, it was just me and my mom, when I was super little, I would either stay at my grandma's or my Aunt Wanda. And my Aunt Wanda was an amazing artist. That's who taught me to draw.
Ah, see.
And so I think being her house, like this was my grandma's house, which you can't hear where that is, but my Aunt Wanda's house was literally 20 steps away. And I would just run back and forth, and she taught me like all of the skills that I needed to draw. And so like since then, I just was like, I mean, I can't remember a time, actually until like Premium, I can't remember a time where I wasn't drawing. And then Premium came and I got like super busy, and we were making bracelets and stuff for the most part at first. So I didn't have to draw out a bracelet. Like you either have the beads or you don't. You can't like envision how you like what you want the bead to look like.
It's funny how things like that, not to cut you off, but your childhood, that ends up connecting all the way to where you are today.
It definitely does. And it takes like things like these for me to like put it into perspective, because I'm one of those people who now, I was just having this conversation the other day. I'm one of those people now that like people come up to me and they're like, how does this feel? Like, cause at the 1 year anniversary, we had like some successful people that have brands in there, and they see like a line of hundreds of people outside and people rushing the door to like have us sign their t-shirts and stuff like that. And people are like, how does this feel? And I mean, while it feels amazing, like thinking about it, it just feels like how it's supposed to, like it feels like life. It doesn't feel like success or like, oh, we did it. Like it just feels like another day, because I think when you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, everything just feels natural now. Yeah. And like now that back to like being like confident in my skill set, I feel like I'm creating the way I'm creating the way that I'm supposed to be creating at the time that I'm supposed to be doing it. Yeah. And it's like there's a lot of people that are younger than us. There's people that have brands that are like way more popping than ours that are your age, 24, 25, 26, even younger than that. And so it's sometimes you're like, man, I wish I had hit this peak when I was that age, and then I would be like 10 years ahead of where I'm at now. But I think that it takes a lot of like, I mean, it takes a lot of like bumps and bruises to even know what I know now. Yeah. And like back to like Madisonville, like there's no way I would have ever known to like get into fashion. There's no like fashion, nobody's fashionable in Madisonville. Yeah. So there's no way I could have really like accelerated my progress. Yeah. We didn't have that, but I don't look back and think like, man,
what I should have done, I could have done.
I used to until recently. Now I feel like, all right, this is happening at the perfect time it's supposed to happen. So
you can't spend any time trying to like wish things would have been a little bit different, or maybe I should have done this a little bit earlier, because there's nothing's going to change from that at this point.
And that's, I mean, I have the Serenity Prayer was my first tattoo. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And I mean, that's basically what you just said. Like, there's no point in thinking back about, man, I wish I mean, you can always wish, but you shouldn't regret. Like, you can't change what was yesterday, but you can change what you do tomorrow. Yeah. And that's kind of like how Diet Starts Monday is. I mean, that's the real meaning of it. Like, the meaning of it is, don't put things off. Like, I mean, the reason why it's dieting is like the biggest thing that people procrastinate with. Mm-hmm. People are like, I'm eating this whole pizza right now. Like, I'll just start my diet Monday or the first of the year. I have this conversation all the time. Like, why I started next month? Why I started the January 1st? Like, you may not make it to January 1st.
Right now.
And so that's our thing, is like, we wanted to start a brand for so long and we kept putting it off. And who's to say that something couldn't have happened and we didn't make it until November 16, and there could be no diet. I wouldn't be here, et cetera, et cetera. But you can't dwell on the past. Like, until Elon Musk creates like a Back to the Future Tesla.
Right. It's a matter of time with him.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be soon. But.
Yeah, he's an absolute animal. Yeah. What do you do in your day-to-day routines? Is there any musts? I know we talked about earlier, it's kind of hard sometimes when you're traveling around a lot and it's not so easy to get into a routine. But when you are able to get into a routine, what are the definites in your day-to-day?
I mean, definitely, drama's got me meditating.
Let's go.
Do you meditate?
Yeah, I do.
For like a long time or just recently?
I first tried it 2 years ago, and then I really started to get more heavy with it probably within the last like 6-8 months. Okay. It's not always consistent. It'll go like 30 days strong, and then I'm off it for like 2 weeks. But
I think I was saying that yesterday. I went like
it's like going to the gym, literally.
I went 4 months straight every day, like 5 to 10 minutes, and then I just stopped cold turkey and but for no reason. It's just but so usually like my day to day at home is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I wake up at 5:30. I go to the gym at 6. My girlfriend is a teacher, so I go to the gym when she goes at 6. But I also go again at night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 5 days a week. So I work out 8 days a week. Yeah,
2 a days, man, out here just lifting.
But so the morning workout is cardio and like core. Mm-hmm. And then the evening is like muscle, like weights, strength and conditioning, stuff like that. But so
I think even the running sometimes can be like a meditation too.
It definitely can. And I try to I was telling myself that like, well, I ran today and I was just at peace in my mind. So that technically that's meditated.
A meditation, for
because
sure.
Drama mentioned an app called Productive. Have you seen that?
I haven't heard that one. I use Headspace, but there's a couple of them jumping up.
Productive isn't a meditation app. It's an app that you put basically everything that you want to do for that day. You put in there.
It's like a reminder almost.
And it reminds you, like you can set it for morning, afternoon, evening. Yeah. And so it'll pop up and say, like my morning one is meditate.
Gotcha.
And then I'll have like morning ones for like whatever projects I need to work on or whatever, try to schedule that out. But then whenever you finish it, you swipe it and it makes this noise that's like,
Hooray.
pretty much. I mean, it's a different type of noise, but it's like, that's the feeling that you get. Like,
so you feel good that you actually accomplished the goal.
and that's the only thing that I really get out of that app, is that, like, cause I know most of the stuff that I need to do every day, aside from the fact that I forgot I was supposed to be here at 11 today and came at 2, but
it's all good, man.
But yeah, so I mean, starts out with workout.
Yeah.
I get back and I'm kind of in this weird stage because of I'm sure you've read Tools of Titans.
No, I haven't.
You haven't read it?
I haven't.
Tim Ferriss book.
Big Tim Ferriss fan, just I haven't read that one.
Well, it's a huge book. It's pretty intimidating, but I read about a fourth of it on the plane here from DC. But there's a lot of people who like. I'm really like, when it comes to people that I look up to, I'm easily persuaded by them. So like there's tips in there where it's like, this person climbed up Mount Everest with shorts on and they do these these are their daily rituals. And so if I hear like this, so-and-so did this,
you're going to do it.
I would at least try it if it makes sense. And so some of the things is like people who do intermittent fasting and they only eat within a certain window.
Yep.
So a lot of people say they don't eat breakfast. And so I'm one of those people that like I've been toying with that and that's not working for me. I think that's why I fell asleep at 8 p.m. last night. I didn't
have enough energy to
get
you
have
through
the juice.
day.
But yeah, so workout and it's usually a breakfast, which is either like I'm pescatarian, vegetarian. So I'll do eggs and I'll make it kind of like a Mexican breakfast dish. So eggs, black beans, avocado, tomato.
Sounds a good way to start the day, man.
And so that's breakfast. And then I start my work, which is I handle production for like a couple other clients outside of our brands. Martellus Bennett from the NFL. He's newly retired, but I handle his line. Iman Shumpert, I handle his line. And then a couple other people that I do like freelance design and stuff for. So my day consists of kind of scheduling out what I'm going to work on. I usually do it the day before. Like tomorrow I need to work on X, Y, and Z. And that's from like typically from like 8 a.m. until about 4. And then at 4, I get ready to go back to the gym.
Yep.
So I go to the gym at like 4:30. I'm there until about 5:30, come home, eat. And then after dinner, I kind of just make myself available for like West Coast business because West Coast is obviously 3 hours behind.
Yeah. So you still can get them in the afternoon.
Yeah. And so my production manager, he works late here. So there's a lot of times where he's working until like 9, 10 out here. So that's 12, 1 at home. But
you kind of have to be available if there's something that he needs to hear from you.
That's the worst thing is like if it's like a big project coming up, because we ship everything on the airplane, Southwest Cargo. And there's a lot of times where I'll wake up at like 3 a.m. just to see if he sent me the tracking number for the package. And sometimes he doesn't. And so it's like waking up at 3 a.m. like freaking out like
yo, this better have gotten shipped.
We've had some nightmares with that. We did a collab with Pleasures. We did an event in store, and shipped the shirts. I think the event was on a Saturday. We shipped the shirts Friday night from LA to DC, and they arrived at like 4 p.m. Saturday. The event was at 7, so that's usually about how we do things. Yeah. Like product arrives
it's gonna happen right when it
like
needs to
3
get
hours
there.
before. There's a lot of times where I'm coming in to an event like with the product in my hand. God. But
I would not be able to, I'd be like heart racing.
Which we're used to it now.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But so come to find out that Reagan Airport Southwest Cargo closes at 2 p.m. on Saturdays. And so there was no way we could get our merchandise for the event that was that night. So Alex and Vlad had like flown out from LA for this event, and we didn't even have Pleasure's product in the store. That's probably like, I mean, luckily this was only 2 t-shirts.
Yeah. That's a tough lesson to learn though, right?
I mean, you would think that I would have learned it by now, but it's just one of those things like that the collab like happened like, it's just like, just by the last thread, like it happened, and we just kind of like rushed it. But we have tons of those nightmares, and you'd never, I mean, John is now used to it. At first, John was the worst. He could never like understand, but I'm like, some things are just out of your control.
Yeah.
Like even when you get product, like you may get 500 t-shirts in, and 10 of them might be damaged. And like at first to me, that was like a huge like thing. Like, why are we like, this is 10 of our t-shirts that we can't sell. That's $650 of t-shirts that are just wasted. But then you come to realize like, well, that's just one of the things. Like there's potential damages in anything. Like we're sending stuff through various washes and so on and so on. So anything could happen. A zipper could snag a piece of fabric or whatever. And so then you know how to adjust and increase your quantity so that no matter what, you still end up with the product that you're supposed to get. But at first it was hard for John to understand, but now he's the one
He's kind
that's
of
like,
understanding now.
Now he's the one that's like, I mean, it's not, especially now that he has a shoe, like even with the shoes, it's the same thing.
I see a lot of his content, like the details, and he's out there in the actual factories, and you just see all of the little things that he's clearly making sure that are going according to plan.
Yeah, I mean, and the shoe is a lot. The shoes, the 001's like a ton of pieces. Like I think it's like 30 something pieces to the shoe. And so each piece is like the detail that they put into it is crazy. And I mean, that's why he documents it, because to the common person who doesn't know, you see a shoe and you see $600, you're like, I'm not paying $600. But then when you go through and watch the documentation of them making it, and you see, okay, this is a lot of pieces. First of all, they're cutting this with like laser technology, so it's super precise.
Everything's handmade.
The people that are making
20
it are
people
like
for one shoe.
The finest craftsmen, using like the finest tools. It's just like, I mean, it's amazing. So he has to, and even now, like he's out there so much, but even then they still do stuff wrong. Like people make mistakes, and that's just something that I think until you go through it, you don't realize it. And that's how it's helped John kind of cope with it, because now he goes through it with John Geiger Co. And
he's learning those lessons.
And now I'm less stressed out, because now I'm like, now you see why.
Now you see what I'm going through.
What I've been dealing with.
Now you know. What do you think Davin's purpose is? I know we've talked about a lot today. What do you think your purpose is?
I mean, I think that my purpose is to not only to create something that's like exciting for people, but to also eventually create like a way for other people to like, I don't know, I won't say like to follow their path. I mean, I've already done that. I've influenced people to follow their dreams now, but I want to create a way to where I can help facilitate that in areas that don't have it. Obviously, coming from Madisonville, like I know that there are people who are interested in this type of thing because they DM me and they're like, hey, like I'm in high school at Madisonville North, which is where I went.
Oh, that's crazy.
And they're like, I'm doing this, this, and this. I look up to you. Like, how can I do this? But they don't have the resources to do anything cool. I mean, I won't say they don't have any resources to do anything cool, but they don't have the resources that a LA or a New York have. And I'm not saying that I can make that happen there, but I want to be able to provide for areas like that in some way. Like
Yeah.
whether it's even down to like a workshop, and we do this. You never know. Like the smallest thing of me going and helping somebody like create their own T-shirt that could go a
That could
long
change
way.
their life.
And then obviously you can make it out of Madisonville. Like I'm in LA doing a podcast, so you can make it out. It's just there's not a lot of people who've made it out, and so people haven't seen that. And now, but I have a lot of friends who they'll never leave Madisonville.
Yeah.
And it's not because they don't have the talent. It's just because they haven't seen somebody before them kind of like lay the path.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest thing to me is like, I mean, if a place like Madisonville is like where you want to be, like there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're feeling like you're like trapped there, I want to be able to show you that like it's possible to get out.
Yeah. You're the example that you got out of there and that you clearly are chasing after your passion.
I feel it's weird because Madisonville has that like small town kind of crab in a bucket type mentality to where it kind of affects me negatively and positively because in a way it feels like I feel guilty that I'm not there. And that's like the downside of it. But then at the same time, on the flip side, I feel like I can only think of 5 people I know that have left Madisonville.
Yeah.
And
if you never left, you never would be doing this right now.
Right. And so that's the thing is, I feel bad that I feel guilty that I don't go home as often as I would like.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people some people probably feel like I've like turned my back on Madisonville or whatever. I know that my friends don't feel that way, at least from like how we communicate and stuff. But it's just one of those things that, I mean, you may come to see this with Massachusetts, you may not. But when you're away, it's always that thing of like people like never forget where you came from. And I obviously never will. And I don't want people to think that I have. Just because I haven't been home doesn't mean that I like don't love Madisonville or don't appreciate it. It's just I can only go there like when I'm able to take like a week or 2 off and not have to do like this in LA or do this in Miami or whatever, and I can just go and like be comfortable and chill, like I would love to go home. It's not that easy.
Yeah, you got to keep moving. I got this bracelet my mom got me for Christmas a couple years ago. I don't wear it every day, but it's the coordinates of my hometown, so it's like a reminder of where I come from, and kind of keeps me grounded. I don't have any tats yet, but I think this might be the one, like the first one, because I think maybe one day we might fill up the arm and get a nice little sleeve. But really, especially in a place like LA where there's just so much going on, and it's so easy to kind of compare yourself and just see all this money and all these things happening, that it's like that's where you come from. So no matter where I end up, the path, success on the lows, the highs, like that's where I come from. So never forget that, because similar to what you were talking about very early on, just like where I come from, I wouldn't take it for anything else. Right.
I mean, and the same thing. I have, it's not coordinates, but I have that tattooed on me because it's not even for like, so that I would never forget where I came from, but more so just like
a reminder.
Not even a reminder, just like an acknowledgement, like this is where I came from. And then you'll never hear me say like that I'm from anywhere other than DC. I mean, anywhere other than
I know what you're saying.
Than Madisonville.
Yeah, it's even in your Instagram, right?
It is
Madisonville to
the world.
To the world.
Somebody said that to me at the 1-year anniversary, and it literally like I'm like the exploding head emoji. That's what I felt like. Because that's the stuff like that's when it like really gets put into perspective. Like you came from like a trailer park in Madisonville with 2 beds, and now you're like, I mean, and not even to say like you've made it, but like you came from that. Like I could still be in like Madisonville on smoking meth.
Yeah,
Like
seriously though,
doing.
you could have went a completely different path. Before I get into the closing questions, this is my reverse role. I allow my guests to ask me any one question. Could be about something we talked about today, something you want to know about me. 2 rules. 1, can't be directly about the podcast. And 2, it can't be a question that I asked you today.
Okay.
Any one question. Anything you want to know. Fire away.
I would say, well, can I ask 2?
Go ahead. Yeah, you
All
got
right.
2.
So, wow, never mind, because that's one of the questions that you asked me.
Yeah.
Well, I am curious to know what your routines are. But the question that I was going to ask,
I can answer that too, but go ahead.
the question I was going to ask is, since being in LA, it's kind of a 2-part question. Have you felt yourself slipping away to where you needed to be grounded back to reality? And if so, like what has kept you grounded?
I got super lucky moving out here because I've already been pretty grounded and I've already been pretty focused in on what I wanted.
Right.
But moving to LA only added, I'm telling you, like there was a little fire, a little bonfire. This thing just poured gasoline because getting here, I was so ready to go. It was crazy. The day I packed up my car to leave was the 1-year anniversary of the podcast. So to me, I was like, okay, this is crazy timing. Moved out here. I was moving out here with my homie Dylan. He's a very grounded person, very focus driven. I was moving in here with my other homie Steve. He was very focus driven with his own brand.
Right.
So I was moving into a headspace with really grounded people that were focused on their dreams. That was already dope. I had a way to make money with Uber. I had a couple of friends that were living in LA. So I came out here not stressing like I need to make friends.
Right.
I need to find a way to make money. I had everything already figured out. I had a place to live. I had a project that I wanted to work on. So to me, it was about getting to LA, the place that I had dreamed of living in since I was a kid. Now it's time to elevate and now it's time to put in the work. So, man, I've talked to so many people that have just told me their horror stories of like the first year and a half, they just were caught up in the wrong things or they were hanging out with the wrong people or they just couldn't find themselves. And
Right.
I'm sitting there hearing these stories and I'm thinking to myself, wow, I am so lucky because I haven't slipped. Like I said, it only added more fuel to the fire. And I know this place is so easy to slip like that because you're around it. You see, you drive through Beverly Hills and it's like no other place I've ever been to in the world where I'm casually just driving by Lambos and Rolls Royces.
Right.
And I'm not saying that you need those things to be happy in life, but to just casually see them as much as you do, you're coming from where I'm from, Chicopee, Massachusetts, you never saw that. So I'm just happy. I think too, the meditating helped a lot too, because it's helped ground me. It's helped me just like be present, be focused on like, this is all I care about right now is this conversation. And the million other things that I need to do after this podcast, I'll worry about later.
Exactly.
So, getting to LA, man, just to summarize it, it has been a blessing. This past 8 months have flown by, and I think I've only gained more confidence in myself, and I've only gotten better at pushing myself to stop thinking things are impossible and start thinking about what are the steps to get to there.
Right.
Aim really high, aim crazy dreams to do all these crazy things, and just slowly but surely like take these little baby steps. And honestly, the drama podcast meant a lot to me, and I'm sure you heard about it or
Yeah, I watched it.
That was just, to me, I was already fired up. I've been doing great through all these guests, but when that podcast kind of happened and after everything rolled out, it was a moment of like, I really made that happen for myself, and the sky's the limit, because that was somebody I wanted to get on since early number one.
You're right.
When I was launching that one, my man, I remember I was always paying attention to drama, and I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool to one day get him on a pod? And like I said, I've already been passionate. I've already been very driven, but that was definitely a recent pod that I was like, man, if I can make that happen, I'm just gonna keep going. So it's been very lucky. But the morning routines definitely depends on the day. But usually, like today, for instance, get up early, get to the gym by like 6:30, work out. Usually sauna. I love the sauna. It's like 15 minutes of it literally is like a meditation in itself. And then I'll come back here, work on stuff, usually up until about 2 or 3. If I have a podcast, whatever, get that done. And then usually from like 2 to like 11 o'clock at night is when I Uber, is when I'm out grinding, running around the streets, getting my 5 stars. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it usually is. But it's thankfully with the Uber, it allows me to prioritize. And it's like when I have a podcast like this, or there's a miscommunication, we had to push it from 11 to 2. I'm not stressing because I have things that I can work on in those 2 hours. But 2, I don't have a boss call me saying, hey, where are you at? You need to be here. So super grateful that there's a platform for me to even make a living. But morning routine is definitely big, and it's just about completing tasks one step at a time, just like having these mini goals every day, and just keep pushing forward because all these things just build. As we literally heard on your podcast today, like it's all these little small steps that end up building a bigger picture. But it's hard when you think about it right now. It's like, man, I got to do all this stuff to get this done or to get this next line out. But it's like, nah, let's just work on today. We're going to focus on this shirt that I want to get launched, and then tomorrow we're going to work on the water bottles, and then the next day we'll work on this. But I've been very fortunate with LA and just I'm getting shit done, man. I'm just staying very focused, which has been really good. It's really a blessing.
Drama's podcast is super, like, now that I think about it, because it was already crazy before, like the stuff that's happened. But so my mom, a couple years ago, my mom was like, you should start listening to podcasts. She listens to Tony Robbins and all these people.
Yep.
And so I started looking, and then I would see like the NPR ones, How I Built This and stuff like that. And then I found Dramas, and so started listening to it. I listened to the one with D. Murphy first. It's like number 2.
Yeah,
I think.
it was really early on.
And so I listened to it, really like loved D's story, and I just kept listening or whatever. So like a week or 2 later, we were coming to LA, John and I, and John was like, yo, we got a meeting with this guy. His name's D. Murphy. I'm like, why does that name sound so familiar? He's like, he's got this brand 5'4" and this and that. And so I looked it up, and I'm like, man, that's the podcast that I just listened to last week. And so we come out here, and I mean, he introduced us to drama and everything. So that was, for one, crazy, that like that little 7 degrees of separation. But then it started happening more to where, like, say, I mean, I don't even want to put some of these people's names out there, but just say it's because there were like deals that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So Drama's podcast it comes out Wednesday. So it might be Wednesday, and then within like a week, there would be like some type of conversation with the person that was on the podcast. And it's like this weird thing. And so now you did the podcast with Drama. Yeah. And then the week after it aired or whatever, I'm flying to LA, and you're like, hey, do you want to do my podcast? I'm like, well, funny enough, I'll be in LA. Drama's super cool. He came to DC, and we went to the March for Our Lives rally. And
it's weird how the world connects, man.
Yeah, I mean, and that's somebody that, like, just like not everybody, but just like us, like we grew up watching Fantasy Factory,
100%,
Robin Big,
100%,
all of that. And so, like, to see him, and I think that he really, like, I think that's kind of where we made the connection was, one, we're both from small towns, but 2, how much information I get from his podcast. And then now, like, I mean, when I come to LA, we see each other, have drinks or whatever. Super good guy. Just that's so crazy. Because whenever I first started meeting up with him, I was like explaining, like, yeah, I listened to your podcast, and a week later we met with D. Then a week after that, we were signing the contract before the brand had even launched, and then
like he wrote out a pod, and then you would meet this person.
Episode 56, you had so and so on, and then a week later, he's reaching out to me to design a collection for him, and like, so it just happened like so many times. It's just super, super weird. That I'm not really big on like the atmosphere type thing, but there's something in it that like, I mean, they say speak it into existence. I never like spoke any of those things to existence, but there's something there that there's some weird synergy between Drama's podcast and my career path, I guess.
He's like the centerpiece.
Yeah,
You're
he's
just
like
running around.
He's like the puppet master up there. Like, all right, so I'm gonna put this person on the
you
podcast.
need to get this person on a pod. I think something good's gonna happen after that.
Yeah.
It's funny how that stuff works out, man. Closing questions. I want you to imagine there's a picture frame on the wall. You're in it. It's 10 years from now. What and who else do we see within that picture frame?
I mean, I would think that everybody that helped, like, has helped me, like my team. So,
Yeah.
My girlfriend's obviously like the biggest part of my team. John, Scooty, Tyler. That's really my core.
Yeah.
And then I think that my dog Louie, he has to be.
Shout out to
in it.
Louie.
Louis, he's about a 7-pound Chorky, Chihuahua Yorkie, and he's got the heart of like the biggest, meanest pit bull that you like. That's my protector. And then I think I would like it to be a picture of like a gallery that has like everything I've created along these years. That's really ultimately that's my goal. It's not so much to build like a physical gallery, but to have some type of gallery that shows like this was the first bracelet, this was the Abe, this was the Terry T, this was the neoprene bomber jacket, this was the Jesus piece, like all of these things that, because there's a lot of milestones that we've had that were really big pieces that I personally feel like influenced a lot of what people use in fashion. And I mean, I could be kind of cocky for saying that, but I think it's more of like a confidence.
I was gonna say it's definitely confident.
I know that a lot of the fabrics and stuff that we've used them when nobody was using them, and then a season later, that's fashion. Fashion equals copy and paste. So, I have that trademark. So in case somebody's trying to steal that, but I mean, I'm not naive to know that that's how fashion goes.
Yeah.
But the difference in me is, for instance, with the John Elliott thing, like we designed a piece that was identical.
Yeah. And
I knew that it was a coincidence. I didn't go after John Elliott and like, man, you copied me, like blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And so on and so on. But there's been a lot of instances in my career personally where the opposite or that has happened and the opposing side has came at me that way. So I just know that, like, for one, I don't have time for like any negative energy. I mean, if you approach me with an issue, we'll handle it, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to like DM somebody and like yell at them for copying something.
Yeah. You're gonna keep it moving.
Or even if it was a coincidence. I know how fashion works. I know how the mind works, and that people see things and it like plants ideas into the subconscious. Mm-hmm. And so you may not even remember that somebody showed you this, but then you see it, and then the next time you design something, you think you got the most fire, groundbreaking design. Little do you know, you saw it driving down the street and in the store window, and then you designed it. But that's like the big thing for me is like an archive
of all
gallery,
the big pieces that have helped get you to this point.
Yeah, just pieces that I've created, pieces that I will create. And the more that I get comfortable with my skill set, like the crazier those pieces will be. Like, obviously I think as any like design fan or any designer in general, there's a lot of things that designers are interested in. Like there's like me and her, we have two different design like backgrounds and like fields that we work in, but we're both interested in furniture. We're both interested in architecture. We're both interested in all these things. And so I think that just having a sense of like design in general, you have an appreciation for all things design. Like even your bed, like just beds in general, I just anything. I just love to design. So I just want to have like a vault that has any and everything that I've created in some form. It could even be slideshow. I feel like that's what's in the picture though. A picture of me with my team, and everything that we've created.
Yeah, and that would be as I have like the wall of the people,
course.
right? So it's like the same type of thing of like having a place to kind of just see your work in one spot and know that like this has been the journey to get you to where you are today.
It's about time for a new
We're
rack.
gonna be getting a new rack, my man. It's coming. I'm gonna have to be calling Amazon up and say send it through.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, Diet, and Premium on social media?
So me, Davin, Davin _Gentry. Diet starts Monday __. I believe the Twitter is just one _ maybe. It's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, everything's all different.
And that's because everybody like takes everything.
Of course.
Doesn't even use it. But Premium is just Premium _co. That's pretty much on every platform. I mean, and that's where I live.
Yeah. All in the social media world, right?
I mean, I wish that I could disconnect myself, but I'm a little too addicted, I guess. It was the word.
We all are, man.
I was trying to search for how to best describe that. But yeah, I'm a little too addicted to it. I mean, it's how you build your brand though these days. And now like that Instagram is pretty much the biggest platform of how you advertise yourself.
Yeah.
And so kind of back to what we were saying earlier, like I have to advertise myself personally, regardless of like what the brands are doing. So, which I mean, that's where I'm at for the moment.
I'll have it all plugged up for people to be able to find you. Before I ask the final question, thank you for coming in today.
Of course.
And for sharing your story. This has been super dope. I've seen John's work from afar for a long time. Really started seeing this Diet Starts Monday since kind of the jump. And then I actually was a podcast listener that I have that DM'd me and said, you need to get him onto your podcast. Send me your Instagram. And I was like, word, dope. And I said, let me see what I can do.
Shout out to him.
So he has no idea, and he won't see this until it drops. Like, there will be nothing about it. He might see something, but he's going to be pumped. I'm going to DM him and be like, this is literally solely because of you. So shout out to Steve. He was the one that asked to get you on. So that was dope. Last question for you. What 2 to 3 pieces of advice would you give to somebody that is trying to find a passion, trying to find a purpose, hasn't necessarily found it just yet? What would you say they should do?
I mean, I think that you have to just try different things. I don't think anybody knows how to find your passion. I mean, I'm sure there's like tons of books of what people recommend, but I think that trying things is the only way you're going to find like what you truly love to do. The unfortunate part of that is your passion may not be something that you know how to generate income from. So there's plenty of people who are passionate about tons of things, but it may not generate income. So you have to figure out, are you searching for something that you love to do that you're going to like be able to support yourself from? Or are you searching for like your true passion and hoping that you can make money from it? Because I think those are two separate things. Luckily for me, my passion is creating. Yeah. So it wasn't to where I searched for it. It was more so I kind of just fell into it. It started with the necessity. I think that's usually if somebody asks me like, yo, what should I do? Like if I want to do this, I'm like, well, think about a problem and figure out how you can solve it. And I think that, I mean, there's Diet Starts Mondays, like my 5th or 6th thing that I've like done. The painting, there were a couple different variations of jewelry before Premium, and then Premium, and even aside from that, just me as a freelance like graphic designer for tons of years. Even before that, like I was I wanted to be an audio engineer. That's why I'm like looking to see like what setup you got over here. Actually, I had a Pro Tools setup that I just donated to a high school last week.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, so like at one point before I transitioned into advertising, I was about to drop out of college and go to school for audio engineering because it was like a much shorter program, and it allowed me to create, and it was like something that I was passionate about at the time, and it generated income. Now, do I know if I would have like still been doing that had I done it? I don't know, but it's crazy though how those little things like mean so much. Because who knows, I could be like producing the top artists in the world, or I could not, and I could have been like
nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. But I think you just have to try different things and see, like, it's almost just like throwing darts at a board and hoping you hit the bullseye. You never. I didn't know that this is where I was going to be. I just knew that this is what I liked. I never knew that I could make money from it. But I also I didn't grow up seeing people make money from this. I see people like growing up selling drugs, or you were lucky enough to get a job at, like, this is sound crazy, but you were lucky enough to get a job at the coal mines. Like, consider yourself lucky to go underground to mine. And those are like the people that get the good jobs. Like, or I mean, that's like what a good job is. Unless you're like a doctor back home, there's no like, there's photographers and stuff like that, but there's not enough customers there to even support yourself full time, unless you're just charging an arm and a leg. But that's I don't know.
Try a lot of things and just keep throwing
just hope that the dartboard hits at least close to a bullseye. And then, I think eventually you will hit the bullseye. It just you may not find your passion until you're 40 or 50, but like by the time you do find your passion, everything that you've been through leading up to that is preparing you for that
moment.
And that's the only reason that we're here now, is like everything that I've been through, even outside of premium, just like growing up, just the hardships or whatever. That's why I handle myself the way I handle myself, is because of what I went through, or how I was raised, or where I was raised, or the limited resources we had. So you just have to try, and then don't force it. Like, if it's not, like, I can't remember where I heard this story, but it was a lady she thought her passion was yoga. And so she went out and started like a yoga studio, and it failed. And I think she had like a successful job before that. It may have been Drama's podcast. She had a successful job before, quit it to open this yoga studio, thinking that her passion alone was what's like going to make her succeed. And that's a small part of it. Like, you can be super passionate about something, but you might not make $1 from it. And you could be not passionate about something and make $1 billion from it. I know a lot of people who are really rich who don't care about what they do for a living. Like, I mean, they're not passionate about it. They may be passionate about making money, but they may not be passionate about the brand or the product or whatever that they make. So
at the end of the day, I think you just got to chase that passion and then find ways to make it work along that way.
You just gotta hope that it works.
Just be smart about it. It's the weird thing where it's like sometimes you want to tell people like don't quit your day job, but then sometimes telling them to quit their day job is enough fuel to the fire to get them to get to that next step.
Yeah.
But everybody's different. That's my thing, is everything is situational. Chase what you like, hope that there's money in it, but if it's not, you have to be smart. You can't just, I mean, and don't get me wrong, now if you're making enough money to where you're taken care of and you're happy, then
You're good.
That's the success that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
As long as you're making enough money to where you're comfortable, you're happy, and you're doing what you love, then that's the win. That's the win.
Yeah.
But I don't know if because I have friends that they see what I do and they envy that. Obviously they don't want to go work for a boss and a job that they don't like. But on the flip side, that's the consistent money. That's the consistent paycheck that entrepreneurs, even millionaires, I know that they're not always comfortable. Like there's times where like it's slow times and it's good times. So those 9 to 5s are consistent money. So I always tell people like keep that, chase your passion from 6 until midnight or whatever, sleep from midnight until 6, wake up, get 2 hours in of more work, go to work. I know it sucks, but it's just like Gary Vee says, eat shit and then eventually something good is going to come from it because you're going to learn enough. Like you're only going to eat a turd so many times. Like you're going to figure out how to like bypass that. And then in bypassing that, it's going to open up a new lane that you're just going to like take off. So, and I think that's been our story. Is like we ate a lot.
Yeah. Took a long time to get to this point.
Yeah. We ate a lot. We ate a lot and lost a lot of money doing it. And now we're like, we know like what not to do. And so that you have to do that unless you're just like a unicorn and get super lucky, but that's just really rare.
Put in the hours and just keep grinding.
Exactly.
Davin Gentry, man. Thank you for coming on the podcast, bro.
Bobbbaaaay.
This was good, bro. This was very.
Thank you.
Absolutely appreciate it.
Thank you
man.
for having me again.
We'll catch you guys next time. See you.